What's up, you guys? This week's practice is all about getting out of our minds, getting into our bodies, releasing any mental blocks that stand in the way of your creativity. Okay. I really am tuning into this full moon in Pisces, full moon eclipse in Pisces, actually, that we have coming up on the 7th. We will be working with the goddess Sarasvati with this practice. You don't have to do this practice only with the full moon. However, this full moon energy can certainly assist in your process, okay? Pisces rules the feet and the toes, so we will do a couple of postures to honor that. We will also need at least one block or two, preferably if you've got them. If you don't, I can show the pose without any props, of course. You just won't hold the posture as long, okay? What else about Pisces? It's a water sign. It's intuitive. It's flowy. They are the poets of the zodiac. So they are a very creative sign in general. They are kind of romantics. They're very, like I said, they're very intuitive. And it is more like a feminine type of sign. And I don't mean like you act like a girl if you're a Pisces. I just mean there's more of a watery element to them, whereas like a fire sign, there's more of a masculine energy to that. Like I'm a fire sign, right? So it is a little bit more flowy, a little bit more feminine energy, for lack of better words. As I mentioned before, we are working with the goddess Sarasvati. I associate her with the throat chakra. She is a Hindu goddess, and she's the goddess of creativity and expression. And the throat is our creative center in a way. Like that is where we express our creativity. And the hips are associated with the water element. So we will be doing a couple of hip opening shapes. And hopefully that energy kind of moves up into the throat. At some point, we open through the heart, the throat as well, and eventually end our practice in Shavasana. It is only a 30-minute practice. You might decide you'd like to have a blanket or two for a little extra knee support. Otherwise, I'll see you on your mat. Welcome to your 30-minute yin yoga practice to help you release mental blockages and open up your creative channels. Obviously, working with the energy of this full moon in Pisces, full moon eclipse in Pisces, and the goddess Sarasvati. If you would like to sit on the block or the edge of a blanket, please do, but we will find a comfortable seated position. And I invite you just to tune in to the sits bones making contact with the earth beneath you. You can place the palms of the hands down onto the knees or flip them up toward the sky. You can also have one up, one down, depending on what you need today. Maybe you need a little bit of uplifting and grounding. Maybe you need more grounding. It's up to you. Feel free to keep the eyes open with a gentle gaze, or you can bring them all the way closed if that calls to you. So just begin by noticing the weight of the body on the floor, the mat beneath you. It helps to envision roots growing down into the earth and the earth opening up and receiving your roots, reminding you that you are exactly where you are supposed to be, that you are so lovable, that you are needed in this world. She is so glad you are here. She is so glad that your energy is walking upon this earth plane as you. Just feeling that connection to her for a couple of breaths. And on your next inhale, I invite you to Begin elongating up through the spine. So noticing if perhaps you might be hunched over, just allow the heart to shine forward a little bit. Bring the shoulders up to the ears, allow them to melt down and back. The chin dips down slightly toward the chest, elongating through the neck. Crown of the head lifts up toward the sky. Keeping all of the facial muscles soft. So separating the lower jaw from the upper and allowing the tongue to soften. And just noticing the breath as it moves in and out. We're going to start just envisioning with every in-breath the space between the eyebrows lighting up. It's an indigo color, and if you can't visualize, that's okay. You can just intend. So every breath, inhale, clears any blockages, any energetic blockages to the third eye space, your space of intuition. And every exhale, any darkness, heaviness, doubt comes out with the out breath. Inhaling clarity, exhaling confusion, inhaling trust, exhaling doubt. And let's gently press the palms together right at the heart space in the Anjali Mudra. Thumbs connect with sternum. And I just ask to say these words on your behalf. We welcome Sarasvati, the river of creativity, the voice of wisdom, the guide through flowing waters. May her energy move through us, clearing the fog, opening the heart, and inspiring expression that is true, fluid, and luminous. Together, we release the blocks to our creativity and step into the current of our divine creative knowing. Take a deep breath in, and then exhale. Sealing the lips, gently blinking the eyes open, coming back into your space, coming back here with me as we set up for toe squat. So you might decide you'd like to have a blanket for a little support underneath the knees. You certainly don't have to. It's always optional, as I always say. And I might be off camera here for a moment. I apologize. So I invite you first to come onto all fours, like you're setting up for tabletop pose. If you want, you can do some cat-cows here. But we're going to tuck the toes. And now you might need to come back and tuck the pinky toes as well. Just this little heads up here. This is a pretty intense shape, okay? We're getting into the ball mounds, the arches of the feet, the toes are spreading. It can feel really, really intense if you're not used to it. So you might decide that alone feels good. Just staying like this with the toes tucked. Perfect, okay? If not, if you want to play around with allowing the hips to come back onto the heels, that would be like your next step, all right? And then you can start walking the hands back and sitting fully on your heels. Again, it feels intense, especially if you're not used to it. You know, a lot of times our feet are shoved inside of our shoes. Our toes are, you know, they typically look like that. They're flat, and so toe squat can be a lot if you're not used to it. Definitely find what works for you. And, as with yin always, you find your sweet spot and then you allow the body to invite you in further. The longer you're in it, the more you might start to be like, okay, I can come back a little more. I can come back a little more. So we are actually getting into all of the meridians with this pose. If you would like an affirmation, I ground myself in clarity and open my mind to new possibilities. I ground myself in clarity and open my mind to new possibilities. I ground myself in clarity and open my mind to new possibilities. So the Taoists believe that open toes equals an open mind. The more open and flexible your toes, the more open the mind. And Sarasvati helps us clear the mental blocks. And then, of course, we have Pisces. We're eclipsing out any mental blocks that are standing in the way of our creative expression. If at any time this starts to feel like way too much, you can always come out of the pose. You can kind of tap the tops of the feet, and that will help with, well, it's going to help bring the blood flow back down into the toes for starters, but it's also just going to help you feel a bit better in the feet. We're not here for much longer. So coming back to that affirmation, I ground myself in clarity and open my mind to new possibilities. Let's take one more deep breath in and then exhale, gently come up out of your toe squat, release the feet. Oh, that's lovely. You might want to do some ankle rolls. That feels nice. And since we are already here in tabletop pose, let's just do a couple of cat-cow stretches, little spinal movements, so really arching out through the back here, hips come forward, make some space between the shoulder blades and the heart. And then as you inhale, drop the belly, collarbone spread, look up at the sky. Exhale, round out, feel this nice little flow of the spine. So as Pisces is a water sign, I thought, why not make this yin practice a little bit more fluid and watery? Perfect. And we'll come back to our neutral spine. Find your way down onto your seat. This is another pose where you might decide you'd like to sit on something, the edge of a bolster. You might want to have a blanket handy or a pillow handy or something, and I'll show you why here momentarily. Bring both legs straight out in front. Adjust your clothing as you need. Shake out the knees. I have hair in my eye. There we go. There's a couple of different ways you can get into this posture, this pose. I'm going to show you the way that I always do it. We're going to just bring the right ankle to rest on top of the left thigh. It's above the knee, it's not on the knee, okay? Right there. So right here is where you might be like, this feels good. I feel a nice amount of energy. I feel a nice sensation in my right hip. I'm gonna stay right here. And to that I say, do it, okay? If you wanna take it a little further, we're gonna bring the left foot underneath the right knee. So we've got feet lined up with knees, and our shins are lined up, stacked on top of one another, okay? If you find that the right leg kind of comes up a little bit, you can absolutely just place something underneath it if you would like, or just bring this bottom leg out straight again, and that will kind of help offset that energy. Feel free to stay upright and setting our timer, or you can start to like keeping the spine elongated, you can start walking the hands out in front, and you'll notice that kind of adds a little bit of intensity into the right hip. Whatever leg is on top, that's the hip you're going to feel more sensation in. So with this pose, we are getting into the liver, the kidneys, and the gallbladder meridian lines. The liver is associated with anger and frustration. The kidneys is associated with fear and anxiety, And then the gallbladder is associated with indecision and being timid, like being too timid. So as we release any stagnant energy in these meridian lines to these vital organs, we are also releasing any leftover energies from times where we have felt anxious, fearful, timid, indecisive, all the things. In the affirmation here, I make space for inspiration. I make space for inspiration. I make space for inspiration. Feel free to walk the hands out more and more as the body opens up and invites you in. Good. And if you are in this forward fold, take a deep breath in with me, and we'll exhale, gently start walking your hands back toward the body. And we're going to find our way out of our square pose, coming back onto the hands. Do my favorite little windshield wiper motion. And actually from here, finding our way into a low lunge position, just for a couple of breaths. So left foot comes to the top of the mat. We're framing the feet with the hands. Okay, I'm using tented fingers. You might put a block here and another block on the other side. Okay, to you. But we're just doing this little windshield, this little rocking horse motion. A little bit of movement once again, tapping into that fluid, watery kind of energy here with this yin practice. Perfect. And then bringing the leg back. Find your seat once more, and we'll set up for square pose on the opposite side. So this time the left leg on top, left ankle on top of the right thigh. And you might decide, okay, this might feel different than the other side. That's okay. Right leg comes underneath the left. We stack the legs like so. Shins are lined up, feet are lined up with the knees, okay? Again, if it's lifted, put a little support there for yourself. And set this timer. If you need a reminder on the affirmation, I open my apologies. I make space for inspiration. Who wrote these things? Not me. Just kidding. I make space for inspiration. I make space for inspiration. and make space for inspiration. Let's take a deep breath in and then exhale gently. Start walking the hands back toward you. We're going to unravel our legs and find that low lunge position. This time the right foot is forward, the left leg is behind us. And we're going to do this same little rocking horse motion, just bringing that blood flow back down through the hips. You might want to do a little wiggle of the hips when you come forward. It's kind of nice. Little movement. Perfect. And finding your way back into tabletop pose momentarily. Let's just come to hero's pose while I explain this next posture. I'm going to show you with and without props, okay? So first thing is without props, the hands are going to be like so, kind of like this diamond shape or triangular shape, I guess it is. Anyway, you're going to come down onto your back. Make that same pose underneath the lower back, right? Legs will come out long, and then you're gently going to start walking the elbows in toward one another, and the top of the head is going to remain on the mat. So this is fish pose, okay? This is without props. To come out, the elbows are going to kind of start walking away from the body, and then the head comes back down. You can lift the hips up off the hands. Do whatever kind of movement you need to come out of that pose. I'm going to show supported fish though, and we will be holding supportive fish for about 2 minutes. If you do not have any props, I don't recommend holding fish pose for 2 minutes. It's a long time. So only go for as long as it feels right to you. And then after that, I recommend doing maybe like hugging the knees into the chest, maybe doing some, twisting posture or something like that, just to kind of offset, because it's a pretty intense pose, right? So that's my recommendation for no props. Now with the blocks, you're essentially setting them up like this. So one's going to be not this high, but like on its side, so medium height. And then the other one's going to be on its low side. Your head is basically going to be on this block, and then your thoracic spine, or the upper spine between the shoulder blades, is going to be resting on this part, okay? So you'll set up, and then you'll have to adjust the block for your body, because every block is different. And so yours might look different than mine, is kind of what I'm getting at here. So your setup might be different. Your body's different as well. Let's be real. You can keep the soles of the feet planted if you want, or bring them out long, and then the arms can rest down by your side. So find whatever version of this pose you are taking. I'm going to set our timer as always. And again, adjust as you need. Now I'm going to be straightforward with you. This is not technically a yin pose, but we're making it kind of one. So the meridian lines in this posture, we're looking at the kidneys, the bladder, and the heart. My apologies. We are looking at the heart and the kidneys in this one. And then the affirmation is, I open my heart and throat, allowing my truth and creative expression to shine. I open my heart and my throat, allowing my truth and my creative expression to shine. I open my heart and my throat, allowing my truth and creative expression to shine. So our heart meridian line, when blocked, carries past energies of unforgiveness, times when we haven't loved ourselves well, the places that we, or times that we haven't been compassionate toward ourselves or others, any hurts where we've hurt ourselves or others have hurt us. So we're going to start making our way out of this pose very carefully. So start by bringing the soles of the feet onto the mat and then using the elbows to kind of help you come up. Please don't rush out of this pose. My hair's caught on the block, so that's good. And then we're just going to move the props off to the side and you'll just find your way back onto your mat. So head and neck relax for a moment. I'm going to scoot down. And just take a second here. You can knock the knees together, place left hand on the heart, right hand on the womb, and just notice what you might be feeling. And you might be feeling some energy in the upper spine. Chin dips down toward the chest, and that's going to elongate the neck. In yin, this is called the rebound, and it just gives you an opportunity to notice any subtle shifts that might have occurred. Perfect. So let's bring the palms of the hands down onto the mat, kind of walk the heels in toward the fingertips. So you'll be able to feel your heels with your fingers. Grab your block, take a deep breath in, and exhale, gently press the hips up toward the sky. You might need to come up onto the toes if you have a big block like me, and then rest the sacrum or the lower back onto the block, and then you can walk the feet out if you need to. Of course, if you don't have props, you'll just simply hold this pose for a couple of breaths. Please don't stay here the full 3 minutes if you're not using any props. Of course, if you're like a bridge master, do what you do. But this is supposed to be more yin restorative, not quite so active, okay? So this is the pose where we're getting into the kidneys, the heart, and then the bladder as well. The affirmation here is, I am rooted, supported, and lifted into my creative power. I am rooted, supported, and lifted into my creative power. I am rooted, supported, and lifted into my creative power. If you want to, and just envision this creative center here, the space between the hips, all of that energy coming up now into the heart space and filling up the heart, so that because the throat is already unblocked, when you are ready, it will be able to express itself beautifully and passionately and in such a connected way. If you are doing bridge unsupported, feel free to pull the knees into the chest and hug and squeeze the legs in. Roll yourself into a little ball if you want. Maybe do some knee circles on the ceiling and just massage the low back. We're here for just a few more breaths. Perfect. Let's take a deep breath in together. As we exhale, gently lift the hips up off the block and move the block off to the side. Allow the low back to just come down onto the mat for a moment while you maybe knock the knees together, find that constructive rest pose once more, and just feel for just a minute without rushing into the next thing. Just wait for a moment. And then here is where I'm going to ask you to tune into your own creativity, your own intuition about what it is that you need. So we will be making our way into Shavasana, but I invite you over these next few minutes to do whatever it is that your body is asking of you. If that means you need to close your eyes and really just ask yourself, what do I need in this moment? And then following it, regardless of what it may be, then so be it. If you already know, please move into it. Go slow, and I'll let you know when it's time to start wrapping up and finding your way into your Shavasana of choice. Perfect. So here's where I invite you to start wrapping up whatever it is that you're in the middle of. Start tuning into what you want to do for your Shavasana pose, whether that be that constructive rest position that you did earlier. Maybe you want to do side lying pose or have something behind your knees, or maybe you just simply want to come all the way down onto your back for more of a traditional Shavasana. The only right answer is what's right for you, okay? We'll flip the palms up toward the sky, allow a little bit of space in the underarms. Allow your feet to come off the mat. You're not confined to your mat. Chin dips down toward the chest, elongating through the back of the neck. And we're just envisioning a beautiful, soft water trickling down on the tips of the toes. And there's a very magical property about this water. What it does is it clears energy blockages and it makes you relax and melt deeply into your mat. The toes soften, the ball mounds soften, the arches of the feet, the heels. And then as water travels up through the calves, you notice all of the muscles begin to melt one by one into the mat. You find that your kneecaps soften as the water pools in the joints. The quadriceps and the hamstrings melt off the bones. And as that water moves up and pools into the pelvic bowl, the glutes soften, the lower abdomen softens. And as it travels up the length of the spine, every single muscle in the back melts one by one into the earth beneath you. That water softens your chest and your heart, washing you clean of any stagnant energy, any old energy, any hurts, pains. And it trickles down your shoulders, down your upper arms. It pools in the elbow joints, down through the forearms, the wrists, and right into the palms of the hands. The water comes up into the neck, clearing out any old stagnant energy, any long-held memories of you being told you were bad at whatever it is you were pursuing, that creative thing, that you suck, that you're not good enough. It's all being washed clear. It's all being washed away. And that water comes up into the skull and it rinses the brain, it rinses the pineal gland, it rinses that space between the third eye that tells you you can't trust what you know. And it comes out the top of the head and pools around you. And pretty soon you notice that you're no longer on your mat, but floating in her water. This beautiful, crystal clear water that feels like warmth, love, truth, clarity, peace. And as you float in this magical water, you say to yourself, I am aligned with the river of creativity, fully open to the wisdom of my soul. If you would like to stay here, please do. Stay for as long as you want or need. If you would like to start making your way out, you can start bringing some subtle movement into the fingers and the toes, and then make them bigger, rolling wrists and ankles until you decide to give yourself a full body stretch, arms up overhead, toes pointed. And as you exhale, turning over onto your side, left or right is up to you. Doing whatever you feel is right, but using that bottom arm as a support for your head. And that top hand presses gently into the mat or the ground beneath you, and you slowly peel your torso up into a seated pose. And we'll press the palms together in the Anjali Mudra, just like we started our practice. Thumbs connected with sternum. And I'll leave you with our closing blessing. May the river of creativity continue to flow through you. May your heart remain open, your voice clear, and your mind inspired. Just as the moon reflects its light unto the water, may you reflect your divine light into the world. And so it is. Thank you so much for practicing with me today. May the benefits of today's practice stay with you long after today is over. Namaste.